Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for welcoming us back. This is another installment of Studio C70, our candidate student interview series that we are doing. And we are very excited today to have Erika Almiron with us, who is running for City Council at large with the Democratic Party before the May 16th primary. And we are going to have students from the Social Studies Honors class who are going to be asking Ms. Almiron questions. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Hi, I'm Najee. I'll be starting off the questions. So I know previously you ran in 2019, and I wanted to know what is different from your campaign now from your 2019 campaign.
The big difference, I think, is that what I learned in 2019 was that there was a real need to engage Latino voters. And so for the last 4 years, I've been working really hard to think about how to best incorporate like a campaign that's bilingual, that's like also expansive in thinking about Latinos in South Philly and North Philly. And so I got the endorsement of an organization called Mi Gente, which is a national organization who is going to help to drive up the Latino vote in the city, because we're about almost 20% of the city. And so the last campaign got really close, but we think that with real engagement of the community, we're going to see a win this.
Also, I read that you prefer to be called an organizer instead of an activist. Why is that?
To me, the difference between an organizer and an activist is that an activist knows the issues and may have some solutions to an issue, but can kind of be sitting on their own. And an organizer is with the community. And so an organizer knows people intimately, knows the issues, people know to come to them, and then can organize for change by developing leaders in the community to fight for those things. So I've always been an organizer because I don't ever just come up with ideas about change without making sure that I'm talking to the community about it and that they're in the lead, not me.
Hi, my name is Naya, and thank you for being here. So we know that you're a big advocate when it comes to equal school funding, and we want to know, how do you plan on getting equal funding for our schools?
So this actually goes back a long time. So I was the executive director of Juntos here in South Philly, doing work with young people, actually, Latino young people here. And we were fighting to stop the school closure. We were fighting to have culturally competent curriculum, things like that. But previous to that, I was the assistant director of the Philadelphia Student Union. And that is where I kind of learned a lot about fighting for equality in schools, for funding. And our biggest tactic has to be fighting to get more money from Harrisburg. So that's first and foremost, is Harrisburg does not like to invest in our schools the way that they should. And we have to make sure that we're all present to be at the steps of the Capitol, to be demanding that we get the kind of resources that we need. And also in City Council, once I'm elected, we need to prioritize the school budget over a lot of other things in the city that I think is superfluous. And so I would need definitely young people like you guys to be in the lead, to be pushing for that, because y'all are the most impacted by underfunded schools. And so I would depend heavily on not just me being an activist and organizer, but also a community member and young people being able to fight for that.
Thank you. And another question that we have, like related to funding, was that if you've received $1 million grant to use for the city however you wanted, what would you use it for and why?
Wow. $1 million, however I want to use it. I don't know. I feel like $1 million feels like a lot for me personally, but I think if $1 million in the budget feels like a drop in the bucket. But honestly, I something that I've been really advocating for this election, because of something that personally happened to me, is that I was driving down Broad Street, and when I was driving, a bullet came through my front windshield as I was driving, and the bullet actually landed in my cup holder right next to my leg. So part of me feels that I have real deep dedication to investing in violence prevention programs that I would want to see really funded, that are working with young people across the city. And then there's another part of me, because this is what happened afterwards, when I called 911, nobody answered my phone call. And so I was like, there's a real issue when there's a crisis happening and you don't get a response. And so I would love to see that be kind of funding that goes into supporting the people who are on the front lines at the 911 call centers to be able to feel like they're not strapped. They're getting paid very little for a very traumatic job. And so those are the two things that I think have been at the forefront as we've been thinking about public safety, about where we can invest.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Colin, and we're gonna be in a speed round where we're gonna answer you fast questions to get you, get warmed up and get things going.
Okay.
So, first question is cats or dogs?
Oh, I have both.
Both. What's your favorite color?
Red.
Do you prefer pineapple on pizza?
Oh,
What's your favorite season of the year?
my favorite season?
Yeah.
Oh, fall.
Oh. And what's your dream travel destination?
What's my dream travel destination? I mean, I've had the privilege of being in a lot of places, but I love going home. My family's from Paraguay and Brazil, so I would probably tour South America.
Hi, my name is Boris, and I'll be continuing the speed round questions. So far, the next one is: do you like roller coasters?
Yes, I love roller coasters.
There's scooters or bikes.
Scooters.
Scooters, nice. We have a favorite childhood memory.
Favorite childhood memory. Disney World.
That's a good one. Let's see. Would you rather kill or save a bug in your house?
Save.
That's good. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Right there. And do you have any favorite show?
I mean, I'm really enjoying Abbott Elementary right now. So if you want to use it, right?
Nice. All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniela. So I just wanted to ask you, what was your experience with Planned Parenthood like, and what is your perspective on the abortion in Philadelphia or like the United States in general?
So I went to Catholic school. So at first I was taught that abortion was wrong, right? And right out of in college, I think I had a lot of experiences with a lot of the young women in my life and realized how important it was for me to not make any decisions about anybody's body. And then I got a job at Planned Parenthood, essentially doing translation and interpreting. Because there were a lot of Latino women who were coming to Winchester County and who were also farm workers who didn't speak the language but needed the counseling services so that they could make their own choices. And it was probably one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It was very transformational. I got to sit down with a lot of women to talk about what they wanted to do. And none of it was ever easy. Either direction was a very hard decision that a lot of women had to make on their own. And I would actually be sometimes the person who would translate and interpret for an abortion procedure. Because people deserve that to understand what's happening. And I would say that, like, being a woman, and having to make those choices are such personal choices. And I don't think we should be judging anybody for the personal choices that they need to make in their lives to survive. And they need people to help them. So I'm the kind of person that, to me, whether or not I agreed with somebody's decision, I did still believe that they needed to have somebody there who could hold their hand and who could explain to them what was happening as it was happening, and who could be there with them in their rooms to recover afterwards. So I would highly recommend having a job like that outside of high school or college for anybody, because it does change your life. That was the trajectory that brought me to here today. That was the actual beginning stepping point. Began to build up to the strength that I needed to think about running.
And with how prevalent gun violence is right now, how do you plan on combating that in Philadelphia?
I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I think Philadelphia is the city that has the largest gap between people who are poor and people who have money. And we can't keep going down that road and not think that people are going to do what they need to do to survive. And so I think we need to really invest in making sure that we are addressing poverty issues in the city. I think violence prevention programs, I think COVID did a number on a lot of our schools and young people who weren't in community with each other. And we've gotten rid of so many things that are so important to y'all that I've heard over the years. After school programs, music and sports and rec centers and pools. I just think that like y'all deserve so much more to be able to have as options for what to do outside of school time. To me, it's really about investing in young people and in the long term. Also investing, that's why funding schools are important to me. And then I also think we need to make sure that we're creating job opportunities, especially for youth.
One of the questions that we've had are, how do your priorities and goals stand out from the other candidates? Because we know that the Democratic Party has a lot of candidates running for city council at large.
Well, I think what's different about my experience is that I've been working with communities since my parents were now. And so since then, I've been working with Latino community, immigrant community, Black community, poor white people, you name it. And that experience has allowed me to think about what the changes are that are needed in the city because I've heard it. And so not everybody has that. And I also have a very lived experience. I'm the daughter of immigrants. My parents literally came to this country with $50 in their pocket. And, I didn't know about, when I was thinking about going to college, none of my counselors told me about financial aid. So my first year of college, I literally cleaned houses with my mom to pay for school. And I just think that's an unfair situation for a lot of communities that we don't have even counselors that can tell our young people sometimes how to access things to improve their lives. Those kinds of lived experiences and also the experience of being an organizer, I think make me very different from a lot of the people who are running. And my campaign will be historic. There are almost 20% Latinos. We've only had one person on council that's been a Latina at one at a time. And that seems also pretty unfair that we don't have more representation. So when I win, I will be the first Latina to ever win city council at large in the history of the city. So that's what makes me different from other candidates.
Thank you. No.
Okay, so we have time for a couple, maybe one more question for people who were there or for anyone else. We have time for one more.
Do any of you want to ask a question? Okay, so how can we help underrepresented groups become more active in politics?
They need to see people who look like them, I think represented, is number one. I think we need to also make sure that there are resources from like funders and other organizations to make sure that it's a priority for the organizations on the ground. And so last year I worked really hard with the foundation to make sure that there were resources coming down to groups. Then I'll start naming them like APIPA, who are very instrumental in getting out the Asian vote in the city and in the state. Into Juntos en Mi Gente to make sure the Latino vote was coming out. Into Free the Ballot, or other organizations who I know are really moving the Black electorate and seeing themselves reflected. So we need to have organizations on the ground who are talking to our people, to register them, and I think also to make them feel that is a possibility for someone that looks like them to be in positions of power. And then I say this to myself out loud, once I am in, I have to then produce on those things to keep people excited and also feel like when you get somebody elected, it means change. Otherwise, people are going to feel like, well, what's the point, right? So I think that's the job for all of us to do, is to activate our communities and then to make sure that you're holding those who are elected accountable so they produce the things that they say they're going to do.
How can we hold you accountable?
I mean, you come to my office, I mean, this is what I did when I was at Pintos. I was like, we'll play nice at first. We'll come and talk to you at your office. We'll have some proposals that we want to get done. You know, we'll come and maybe speak at one of your hearings. And then eventually, if we felt like it wasn't getting heard, then you start protesting, right? You start coming outside. You start having actions. You know, I mean, I've been arrested 3 times on civil disobedience. And so one was to make sure that the schools down here in South Philly didn't close. And another one to try to stop family detention from happening. So you have to start escalating. So you get what you want as a community.
Thank you.
Sorry, I wanted to ask one more question. I made up a question. I asked, is there anything that you would like to do, or do you have any ideas about improving the cleanliness of our city?
Oh, yeah. I've worked a lot with some of the community members in Kensington, and this is a top issue for them around trash, right? And one of the things that I know is that the trash department is really understaffed. So I think there are various things that we could do when it comes to that. One is we probably need to up the amount of jobs so that there are enough people on the streets who can do this work. I think, too, we need to make sure those jobs are also inclusive and reflect the diversity of the city, which I would be excited to think about. And then we should be thinking about how to do community-based cleanings where we're actually funding and paying local level community cleanings, because I think there is desire from communities to get that done, but there aren't the resources. And so those are kind of the things that I have pointed to as solutions to the issue of trash. Because there are parts of the city that are very clean, and then there are parts of the city that are ignored. And I think we should start in the places that have felt ignored for a very long time.
Thank you.
But I was going to repeat.